right. And in Britain, we actually talk about access rather than custody, because it's the idea is not that you own the children, it's that you actually want to be able to see the children and spend time with them. And I think that's really important. But fault-based divorce is something that increases the chances of couples having a bad divorce, right? That's the problem, is it sets people against each other from the start. They have to go into court and contest that the other person has done something wrong, which is not a great base on which to start then an argument about what you're going to settle.
Should be encouraged to divorce even if no one's done anything wrong?
No, I think that having to prove that in a court of law is not something that is going to lead you to a better arbitration about settling money and settling, access to children. I think that's the point. You have a ridiculous situation where couples who say, well, actually, we've just grown apart, nonetheless, unless they want to wait 5 years or 2 years for separation, they have to go in and plead unreasonable behaviour to get a divorce and start splitting up their assets. That's the joy of no-fault divorce, is that you don't have to make those contested cases. You can simply say, our marriage is no longer working, and part ways without going into all of that acrimony. It seems quite sensible to me. It
also seems quite naive to me.
Well,
I've seen very few non-acrimonious divorces. They're very hard on kids. So I don't think anything that makes them easier is a very good idea. It might be good in the short term, but it's not good in the long term, unless you don't think that marriage is a useful institution. And if you think that it's part of the patriarchal tyranny, then you might think that as well. But it's a very useful institution, mostly for kids.
I agree that I'm married. Modern marriage has a lot to recommend it. I do also think it is a patriarchal institution. It is literally...
Of course you think that, because you think virtually everything that occurs in our society is a patriarchal institution. And it's easy to think that, because then you only have to think one thing. You have a one-thing answer for everything.
You could let
it's part of the patriarchal institution.
I don't think you're obeying the rule that says maybe treat people as if they have something worth hearing. So
I'm not making a case for the patriarchal tyranny. And I don't think you are either. I think that you're making a case that's like a universally cliched case for the patriarchal tyranny. I don't see too much of you reflected in your articles at all.
Why do women change their names on marriage traditionally?
I don't know exactly. Why do you think they do?
Because it was to symbolise the transfer of their ownership from one family to another family. That's why in The Handmaid's Tale you have off Warren, off Glenn.
Oh God, Margaret Atwood. Well, she was just about devoured by the feminists last year, so that was something interesting to observe.
I think she made a very good point. She wasn't devoured by all feminists. I'm a feminist. I thought what she said about due process in cases like that is perfectly reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Well, many people didn't.
No, but then, guess what? This is on the internet. You can find someone who disagrees with pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. But so why do you think women change their names when they get married traditionally? If it's not about transfer of property ownership traditionally?
I don't know if I have an opinion about that. The specific reasons for that, I'd have to look into it for a fair amount of time before I decided it, but I certainly wouldn't boil it down to a unidimensional argument about the ownership of women by men.